this one, being on this side of the building, had an amazing view of the Zakim Bridge and of TD Garden, which was good on the one hand, but remember, there are a lot of events at TD Garden, so there could be a lot of people on the street. It's not like some of the other ones that we've seen, but there are full-size appliances, which is good. We're back to apartment hunting in Boston today, back in the West End, looking at 3 different apartments, and this time we're looking at practical and affordable options. Let's do a short recap of this neighborhood. It's a charming neighborhood with tons of restaurants, coffee shops, and things to do any day of the week. With TD Garden right at the center of it, there's always something interesting and fun to do. In the last couple of videos, we looked at gorgeous apartments in the Seaport District, and last week we looked at some of the nicer apartments that are in this area. And today, we're going to look at some more affordable and practical options. We're starting with the West End apartments that are a little bit north of TD Garden, right across the street from Massachusetts General Hospital, one of the top hospitals in the nation. I parked my car at TD Garden because it's an anchor for this neighborhood. There's a public parking garage there, and a couple of the apartments that I was looking at were right in that area. So I walked from TD Garden over to the West End, which is just a few blocks, but there's this nice public greenway that connects the backside of TD Garden over to Massachusetts General Hospital, and it was a gorgeous day for a walk, thankfully. We've had some really hot days recently, but the day that I was out was absolutely perfect. This is such a nice area in the heart of the city to go for a walk and enjoy the beautiful weather that we have in the summertime. Okay, so let's talk about the West End apartments. Affordable is the word that I keep using. It's not really my forte. You guys know that I'm really more interested in things that are nice and luxurious and gorgeous, also expensive. This was on the lower side of my budget, and it also provides a lot more space. Let's talk about the building a little bit. The first thing that struck me as I walked into the building is there was a security system, but it was not in use. A little bit strange, especially because there were so many people around everywhere, people just coming and going. It definitely does not give you the whole safety vibes. Especially being in the city, safety is one of my primary concerns. The building looks a little bit older, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it doesn't give you a super luxurious feel. It's more like a lived-in type of feel. Something else that struck me is a lot of apartments in Boston do self-tours. So you basically just check in at the front desk with the concierge, and you give them your driver's license, and they give you a pamphlet like this that has instructions on how to get into the apartments, and then it'll tell you about the amenities that they have and what your first, second, and third stop should be. And sometimes they give you another set of paperwork. This one is actually from a different apartment, but it gives you access codes to everything. Oftentimes they'll give you a key fob as well, so that you can access the elevator and you can access the apartment and all of the amenities. This place was the only place that I have toured that did a self-tour that did not give me a key fob. And I asked the concierge, do I need a key fob? Because I have to go on the elevator and to see the amenities. And he's like, no, you don't need a key fob for the elevator. And that really worried me because that means that anybody that walks in the front door, which was wide open, can access the elevator and they can access any of the amenities. Like I said, there's not a lot of security. So to me, that was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you get what you pay for. This particular building had some basic amenities. They had a gym, which looked regular. It also says that they have a club room. I think that that's what this was the club room. It was also like the reception area to their leasing office. So, and the TV, I mean, I think the TV in my apartment is bigger than that TV. Those were the amenities. It was short and sweet. So, let's take a look at the apartment. All right, so here is the apartment. It's a little bit older. It's not like some of the other ones that we've seen. But there are full-size appliances, which is good. And there's a huge bar, plenty of space for my ice maker. There's the bathroom, which is massive. There's a bathtub. It looks really shallow. Maybe just because the one that I have now is like deep. I don't know. Not too bad for counter space. A lot of just like extra space. That does not open. Lots of natural light. Very nice view of Mass Gen. Really big bedroom, which is good. Massive closet. Yeah, not too bad. That's a closet. You know what I noticed? There's no washer and dryer. That is a problem. There's no way you can pay more than $3,500 a month and not have a washer and dryer. That's just not a thing. So this building, obviously it's gonna be cheaper. I don't think they gave me the price. No, I'll have to tell you the price later. So obviously it's gonna be cheaper because it's a little bit older and it's a little bit farther away from everything. It's close to the hospital, just in case you need that. I don't think that I do. At least God, I hope not. It is a little bit older, probably a more practical choice, but if you guys know me, you know that I'm not practical and I don't pick the practical things. So yeah, on to the next one. Okay, so let's talk about some positive and negatives here. Obviously, the biggest negative for me is the lack of security. That right there is just almost like absolutely not. Almost a deal breaker. That's very concerning to me. The second negative is that the building is a little bit older, a little bit dated. The amenities are sort of lacking all the way around. Another negative for the West End apartments, it is a little bit far from the highway. It's not too terribly far, but it's not as close as the other apartments are. So that's definitely something to consider. It could add an extra 5 to 10, if not 15 minutes to the commute. So when you're looking at a commute that's 25 to 30 minutes, adding another 15 minutes just in town, trying to get to where your apartment is, I mean, now you're going from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. It may not be a deal breaker, but it's definitely something to consider. On the other hand, the positive is that it's cheaper than the other apartments. And you get a lot more space than what you would from the other apartments. It is 700 square feet as opposed to 370 square feet. That's kind of a huge deal. I know a lot of people have made comments, especially people who've been watching my videos for a while. I do have a lot of stuff. So that's one thing that I have to consider. Obviously, there's going to be massive downsizing on my part, or I'm going to have to move into a cheaper, bigger apartment that's not quite as luxurious as what I want. So another positive for the West End is that they do have a garage and it's a little bit cheaper. It's $440 a month. Actually, it's $460. Their paperwork is just a little bit old. It says it's $460 a month. It is a public garage though, so that's a negative. Another positive is that it is in a quieter neighborhood. It's not right next to TD Garden, which is good, but it is next to Mass Gen. So I'm sure that there's a lot of activity, a lot of ambulances, noise that comes from that. Maybe not the same kind of noise that comes from, you know, the Celtics winning a championship and drunk people out on the street all hours of the night. But you know, you have to pick your battles there. So there's good and there's bad with this one, but that's what you get when you're looking for a cheaper place in a nice area. So how much does it cost to live here at the West End Apartments? For this one bedroom that's 742 square feet on the 4th floor, it's going to cost you $3,525 a month. What do you think? Is it worth it? Would you live here? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's go take a look at the next one. Okay, so the next one that we're looking at is called Avenir. I think that's how they say it. This one is right across the street from TD Garden. It's down one of the side streets, maybe a quarter of a block. This one also did a self-tour, which I absolutely love. One of my favorite things. That way you don't have to talk to the leasing consultants, tell them your whole life story, and then do small talk with them the whole time that you're looking at apartments. So let's talk about the amenities. There was a nice lobby that was decent. They have a concierge, which is good, and a lounge that was right there as you walk in. They also have a fitness center, and it said yoga room, although I wasn't quite sure where the yoga room was. I didn't go into the fitness center, though. On the 2nd floor, there's a resident lounge and a co-working space. And you could see the garage as well, which was also a good thing. They have their own private garage that I think they said was on the 3rd through the 4th, or the 2nd through the 4th floor of the building, which is good. That's a massive positive. So that's the whole of the amenities. They're basic. They're basic for sure. Let's go look at the apartments. Okay, so, oh wow. I think that's window washers outside. Horrifying. Scared the crap out of me. Closet. There's a door that we came in. Oh, pantry. That's the first apartment that we've seen that has a pantry, which is nice. Full-size appliances. Nice countertop area. Plenty of space for my ice maker and stuff. It is older, though. Especially, I mean, you can tell from the floor, it's kind of special, but not like in a good way. There's a bathroom, there's a washer and dryer, which are regular. Oh boy, don't need that. The countertop, there's not a lot of countertop space. There is an extra cabinet, which is nice. There's a bathtub, which is nice. It's just kind of older, like halfway redone. Oh, there's carpet in the bedroom, which is gross, especially when you have asthma. Carpet is not good. You can just hang out here and look at, that's the Hub 50 house building right there. All their fancy amenities. Reminds me of that meme I just saw the other night. It's like, you cannot afford.
You cannot afford. Great success.
Closet, nice closet. And there's tons of space in here, and I think this one is $3,500. Yeah, so probably the practical choice. You guys know me, this is probably another one for the practical choice, and that's not the choice I'm gonna make. I cannot see myself living here. All right, here's the next one. Here's the bathroom. with a bathtub. Very nice. Closet, coat closet. Washer dryer. Pantry, oh, massive pantry. Very nice. This one has a lot more space. Oh, is there? Oh, wow, there's 2 pantries. Okay, tons of kitchen space, huge island. Space for like my bookshelves and stuff. Huge living room area. You could put like a craft room in here, plus have space for your living room. Like, you'd probably have to put the couch over there and the TV, and then like the craft room over here by the window. Nice, huge window. And then the bedroom. Oh, there's 2 different windows in the bedroom. Which is nice. They're having some kind of a sale at TD Garden. I don't know what it is. The bedroom is massive, probably bigger than the bedroom I have now. Huge closet. Probably enough room to put all of my stuff. I don't know what they clean the carpet with in here. Doesn't smell good though. Very, very chemically. I don't know if it's just me, but I think this one is $3,900, and I've seen some other ones that are $3,900 that are a lot smaller. But I would rather have a smaller place that's nicer than a bigger place that feels kind of old and not that special. I don't know, you guys tell me in the comments. Would you rather have a smaller, nice place or a bigger, not so nice place? Okay, so let's talk about positive and negatives. The positives is the square footage, of course. These apartments are huge compared to some of the other ones that I've looked at. These are massive. One of these was bigger than the apartment that I live in now, which would be fantastic. The other thing that is good is the price. They're cheaper than the other ones that I've been looking at. Obviously, that's something major to consider. They have their own private garage, which is fantastic. They have electric car chargers, which is also good. Since I drive an electric car, that is absolutely necessary. It's in a great neighborhood on a quiet street, which is fantastic. The location to 93 for work is very good. So the negatives, obviously not very many amenities in the building. They're basic for sure. The apartments are older. They are a little bit bigger, but they're older. They look a little bit dated. There's a smell from the carpet. I don't like carpet. I have severe asthma, and one of the first things that my asthma doctor told me is make sure that you get rid of all the carpet, because it holds dust a lot worse than hardwood floors, and it's difficult to get the dust and dander and everything out of the carpet. And the carpet didn't smell bad. It smelled like it had just been cleaned, and so then there's chemicals that are trapped in it too. I just try to avoid carpet as much as I can. And I think this is the only apartment that I saw that had carpet in it, if I remember correctly, which is a little bit strange. But it's a little bit older, so I know it's very common now to put hardwood in apartments, or a facsimile of hardwood. It was a lot more common in the past to have carpet, so I'm sure that's why it has carpet. It's just old. Another downside to this building, I've been asking all of the buildings if they allow undergrads in the building, and this particular building does, which is worrisome to me, being that I'm almost 40 and I like things being quiet, and I'm not really interested in a bunch of teenage and early 20s shenanigans. That's not cool. So that's definitely on the negative list, for sure. So how much does it cost to live here? The first apartment that we looked at was 663 square feet, and it will cost you $3,395 a month. The second apartment that we looked at was 993 square feet, and it will cost you $3,920 a month. What do you think? Is the extra square footage worth it? Would you pay that to live here? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's go look at the last one. This one is a building that's also right across the street from TD Garden. It's down one of the other side roads. It's actually kind of a main road. It's right off the Zakem Bridge, which if your apartment is on the right side of the building, it's going to give you this amazing view of the bridge and TD Garden and this whole side of the neighborhood, which it could also be overlooking the North End, which is a beautiful neighborhood as well. So let's talk about the amenities in this building. They're a little bit better than the amenities in some of the other buildings. This outdoor space was on the 10th floor, if I remember correctly, and it's overlooking one of the side streets. So it's very quiet, but still gives you some space to get outdoors. And there's a barbecue there, and then it's also right next to their indoor common area space, which was decent looking as well. Then there's the space that's closer to the top of the building, which I think was on the 15th floor, if I remember correctly. And this space was very popular, tons of people up there, but it also had a gorgeous view of the city. If I lived in this building, I would probably spend quite a bit of time out there. And there were several different spaces there. There was a barbecue area, and then there was a space behind that had a TV and another lounge area, which was very nice. On top of that, they had a fitness center and they had some other co-working areas as well. So this building, out of the three that we looked at today, had the nicest amenities, and it also had the nicest feel out of all three of these buildings. I asked them if they allow undergrads, and he said no, absolutely not. In fact, we get a lot of people that come from those other two buildings that you looked at looking for peace and quiet. So that's something to consider. The first apartment that we looked at was a studio, which was very nice. It was a lot bigger than some of the other apartments that I've looked at. This one, I believe, is 530 square feet. I love the island and the full-size appliances in the kitchen. Some of the other ones don't have full-size appliances, so that was very nice. And I also liked that there's a bathtub. Because this building is a little bit older, it has bathtubs in the bathroom, which I love. I don't know why people hate bathtubs now, but all the new buildings, they don't have bathtubs. I love them. It had decent closet space as well, and, plenty of space to put a bed and a couch, and, I think I would be able to keep my couch and probably my desk too. Tons of space. Okay, so the next one that we looked at was a one-bedroom apartment. This one was also nice, tons of space. I absolutely loved it. This one, being on this side of the building, had an amazing view of the Zakem Bridge and of TD Garden, which was good on the one hand, but remember, there are a lot of vents at TD Garden, so there could be a lot of people on the street, and you never know what kind of noise that you're going to get from that building. Again, with the island, full-size appliances. This one had a massive closet as well, and a nice bathroom with good counter space. Also a washer and dryer, which is very necessary. Gotta have a washer and dryer. Okay, so let's talk about the positives and the negatives for this building. The positives, obviously the apartments, they're a lot more space than some of the other ones. These are normal size places. You could fit normal size furniture. The appliances are full size, which is good. There were massive islands. There's bathtubs. All things that I absolutely need. The amenities were decent in this building, probably as much as what I would use. I like that there's 2 different spaces for outdoor space and a gorgeous view. And it really doesn't matter what side of the building that you're on, you're going to have a nice view. And the price as well. Even though these, I think, were the most expensive that I looked at of the 3 today, they're still cheaper than some of the other ones that I've looked at. They're cheaper and bigger. Another positive is that they do have their own parking garage, and it's in the same price range. It's about $500 a month. I love that it's private. It's very secure. There was even a door that was off of the main road that runs right next to the building, and that door was secure only for residents. There was a different door that was around the side that they request that visitors use. So they definitely have safety and security in mind here, which is good. They also had a gift wrapping station in their mailroom, which I thought was a little bit goofy, but I think it would also be really good. It would come in handy right at the right times. You probably don't need it like 99.9% of the time, but when you do need it, it's very important. And given the fact that I just wrapped some presents for my dad for his birthday and for Father's Day in Christmas wrapping paper, because that was all that I had, it would have come in handy for me just very recently. Another thing that I like that this building has that I haven't seen in any of the other buildings, they have an Amazon locker. So you get packages from Amazon and they're not just thrown everywhere. They're not just in some room that is piled high with Amazon packages like the building that I live in now. It's a complete disaster every time you go in there, and you have to spend 15 or 20 minutes trying to sort through hundreds of packages trying to find the one that you got or the 3 that you got, because even though you placed one order from Amazon, they have to put every single thing you buy in different packages. Why do they do that? I don't know, but they do, and it takes forever to find your packages, and it's horrible. So the fact that this place has an Amazon locker where they send you a code and you type in the code and it pops open the right door, that's fantastic. And it also stops people from stealing your packages or from mistakenly grabbing the wrong one. I've lost way too many packages that way. So the negatives, again, it's an older building, so it's not super luxurious. All right, so how much do these apartments cost? The studio that we looked at was 576 square feet, and it will cost you $3,380 per month. The 1-bedroom that we looked at was 653 square feet, and it will cost you $3,625 per month. What do you think? Is it worth it? Would you live here for that? Let me know in the comments. All right, so before we go, I wanted to answer some of your questions. There's been tons of comments and a lot of them have questions. So I thought we could take some time to answer some of those questions for you. Okay, so the first one says, can I ask what you do for a living? I am with you. It's too high up. No, it's not worth any kind of money. No, honey, I like the ground floor, but I love your videos. I think this one was on the video where I was out on the balcony that was very scary and it was very windy. So, the first thing that she said is, can I ask what you do for a living? I'm a product manager for a Fortune 200 company. I just got promoted actually about 3 months ago. So do I make tons of money? No, barely enough to afford this lifestyle, but it is worth it because of the proximity that I'm going to be to work right now, because I'm spending usually about 3 hours in the car a day for my commute. I don't really have a life. So I would like to be closer to cut that 3 hours down to 1 hour, like 30 minutes one way. That way I can go back to actually having a life and not having to get up at 4:30 in the morning just to go to work. Not fun. Next one says, I mean, is a studio apartment realistic for you? You would have to change your entire lifestyle of crafting, cooking, shopping, and displaying all of your stuff to cram into a tiny studio. Living in a luxury building is not important if it's a tiny box. You really need about 1,000 square feet realistically. I think it's so funny how so many people are so concerned about how much stuff I have. I do have a lot of stuff, I'm not gonna lie. I do. But what's really funny to me is that in 2020, I was living in an apartment that was 200 square feet. It was incredibly small. And the amount of stuff that I have now is way more stuff than I've ever had in my life. I spent, I don't know, 10 or 15 years now being kind of nomadic, where the building that I live in now, I've lived in for 3 years. That's the longest that I've lived in a building for probably for 20 years. It definitely 15 years. So yes, I have a lot of stuff. It kind of accumulates when you stay in one place. But am I concerned about downsizing and getting rid of a bunch of stuff? No, I'm not really that concerned about it. I display stuff like my New Kids on the Block stuff because I have the space to do it. But if I didn't have the space to do it, then I could adjust. And I think it's kind of fun to do something new and to change things up every once in a while. I already have so many ideas for decorating my new place, so I kind of know what kind of layout of the apartment that I want because I already know what I'm going to do. And it's going to require me to get rid of a lot of stuff and buy new stuff, which is half the fun of getting a new apartment is decorating it, right? So am I worried about getting rid of my stuff? No, I'm not really concerned about it. Okay, the next one says, "Hello, Sarah. I've been watching your tours and I really have enjoyed them. I am much like you and very introverted, and I would enjoy being in that environment so much. Currently, I live in the sticks, but I would love to move to the city someday, soon. So your tours are helping me see what's out there. Yes, everything is very expensive, but what isn't? And if you really like the vibe of the city, you couldn't ask for a better area. Go with your gut is my advice, and know your finances, which I'm sure you are keen to do. And by the way, that building with the crazy ass sounds gave me the creeps too." I'm sure she's talking about the Alcott, which was very weird. Let me remind you what happened there. Okay, I don't know what that noise is, but it's freaking me out. There's more meeting rooms, and I don't know what that is. Shuffleboard? Can you see the pool? It was very weird. I don't know that I could live in that building just because of that. I really appreciate the encouragement, though. It's nice to see so many supportive people. And it is funny how many introverts love to be in the city. I think people associate introverts with wanting to be out in the country and away from everybody, but that's not necessarily true. You can be in the city without talking to tons of people. And I think that that's why I love Boston so much is Boston, the people in Boston get this reputation for being really rude. And I don't think that that's true. I think that people in Boston are very honest and they're very assertive. But another thing that they do is they don't really engage with people in public, not in an overly friendly type of way. I used to work downtown and I would ride the train to work every single day and nobody said anything to me. In fact, one of the friends that I made, she walked up to me on the train platform as we were waiting for the train, and she's like, "So how does this work?" And my first thought was I looked at her and I'm like, "You're not from here, are you?" And she goes, "No, I'm from Pennsylvania." I'm like, "Oh, I see. Okay, you're not from the Northeast." People from the Northeast just don't do that. And I don't think that it's rude. I think that it's just that they keep to themselves. It's part of the culture here, which I like. It fits my personality so well. I grew up in the Midwest, and people are kind of in between there. They sort of keep to themselves, but they're also kind of friendly. And then I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for about 6 years, and people there are very friendly. The whole Southern hospitality thing is they're going to be nice to you whether they like you or not. So it's kind of hard to tell if somebody likes you or not. But in Boston, you can tell. People are a lot more honest, and I like assertive better than aggressive. I don't think it's aggressive. I think it's just more they're going to tell you how it is. And that just fits my personality so well. I have never felt like I fit in with the people that I work with and the people that I meet so much as when I've been here. It fits so well. All right, the next one says, "Love to hear more about how you use a bath to relax. Favorite oils, music. Don't get the studio at the Avalon. It's not a good energy. um, that's funny because I was actually thinking that the Avalon might be the place that I choose. So I'll have to keep that in mind. That's really interesting. How do I use a bath to relax? It's the thing that I look forward to every single day. I can just sit there and let the water run. I use some Epsom salts. They're like lavender Epsom salts bubble bath. That's really good. I love the smell of it, and it helps me relax a lot. But it's just the place where I can sit and be at peace and not worry about anything, or just kind of, sometimes my mind goes quiet, not often, because most of the time I'm just replaying conversations in my head or thinking about what I'm going to say when this situation comes up again, because that always seems to happen. But it seems like it's just a place where I can just be and not worry about anything else, and just let my mind wander onto those things that I'm worried about or concerned about, and just a place where I can think, which I love. It helps me to feel a lot less stressed, which I like. I need some of that. I need a lot of that in my life right now. Okay, the last one says, have you considered the Hingham Shipyard? You have the Hingham Ferry for you when you have to go into the city. Trader Joe's, Starbucks, still far from your work city, but very nice. I found your channel when you were looking last year. I'm still stuck in Weymouth. Most people don't understand how hard it is to find a good place in Massachusetts. It is very hard to find a nice apartment in Massachusetts. That's why there's going to be so many of these videos, because this is my summer. I'm apartment hunting. I might look at every apartment in Boston before I choose one. Have I looked at the Hingham Shipyard? Yes, I have. I love Hingham. It's probably my favorite place that I've found here. I would love to live in downtown Hingham. I definitely cannot afford downtown Hingham. I love the ocean, and I love the shipyard and the ferry there. I've taken the ferry to the city so many times. I used to live on Nantasket Beach, which is just a little bit farther south, and I love Nantasket Beach. It's my favorite beach. If I could live at the shipyard, that would be fantastic. Unfortunately, part of the problem is that it's so far from 93. It's going to take you 30 minutes just to get to 93, and then you're still south of the city. You're probably going to have to go through Quincy, which is tons of traffic, and I know that people around here say it Quincy, but to me it's going to be Quincy. It's just, that's how you say it. So you're looking at either Quincy or Dorchester getting to 93, and you're still going to have to go straight through the city. It's probably going to be at least an hour to an hour and a half to get to work, and it's going to be the same going back. I used to work in Weymouth, which is why I live in Weymouth now. It took me 10 minutes to get to work, but when I lived on Nantasket Beach, I had to go through that area of Hingham right by the shipyard, and it took 30 minutes. So there's just not a direct route to 93, even though it is a beautiful area. I really don't want to be south of the city. Because I work north of the city in Woburn, I need to be either on the north side of the city or somewhere with easy access to 93 that's around the city, or I need to be north of the city. Because it's too much getting through the city every single day. I cannot take being stuck in the tunnels. The traffic stops, and then you just sit there for like 45 minutes in the tunnels, and you're going like stop and go like not even 5 miles an hour. It's just horrible, and I hate it so much. I don't like being in traffic, period. Even when you're outside, that's why I take 95 oftentimes, which is around the city rather than right through the middle of the city. But the tunnels is a whole other thing, because you're always seeing something about the tunnels. There's always a truck that's over height that gets stuck, or there's cars that are on fire, or there was something just the other day that I saw that was a big accident, and they had to shut down a whole side of the tunnel. So I forget if it was going north or south, but it was like 4 or 5 lanes of traffic that they had to shut down for several hours. I know it's a big problem because when I worked in the South End, my boss was coming from north of the city into the city, and she was constantly 2 or 3 hours in traffic. So one thing that you have to consider if you're thinking about moving to Boston is that traffic is a real thing here. It's not like a half a thing. It's not like an afterthought, or something that you can deal with. It's something that you really have to put a lot of thought into. If you're planning on moving, do your commute a few times. See if you can actually handle it, because you think, yeah, I've spent an hour in traffic before. I grew up 45 miles outside of Wichita, Kansas. And 45 miles was 45 minutes. That's how we measured distance in Kansas, was in time. But here, when I moved here, I told my mom, because I was working in the South End, and she was like, well, where did you get an apartment? I'm like, well, it's in Braintree. It's like 10 miles from the city. And she's like, oh, that's good. It's only 10 minutes. And I'm like, no, it's like an hour and a half into the city. And coming home, it's like 2 hours. It really is something that you have to put a lot of thought and consideration into. And I think that's why, and obviously that's why the apartments downtown are so expensive. You're in the city, you're in a high-rise building, you're in a place that's very desirable, very favorable, but it's also, you're cutting down on your commute so much. So is it a lot of money? Yes, it's a lot of money, but you're getting hours of your life back every single day. So to me, that's worth it. All right, so what did you think about our affordable apartments? I know they're not like super affordable, but they were more affordable than the ones that we have been looking at. Are these apartments that you would consider? Do you think that giving up the amenities and the luxury is worth the extra square footage and the cheaper prices? Let me know in the comments. And then make sure that you come back next week, because next week I'm going to show you some of the most luxurious apartments that we've looked at, including a new one that might just be my favorite.
The 04 stack studios have the wall to break up the space a little bit for you.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yes. All apartments do have the in-unit washer dryer. Kitchen sink just goes like that.
Yeah, it's really pretty today.